The auctioneer's hammer fell as Evelyn Carter saw blood beneath the frame. Not fresh blood, but a dark thumbprint sealed under varnish beside a silver ring pressed into the canvas backing. She froze. Adrian Knox stopped smiling. Two security guards moved toward her while collectors turned to stare. Evelyn raised the painting and said, "This piece was never meant to be sold tonight at all." Adrian crossed the room with practiced calm, his tuxedo immaculate, his voice soft enough to sound reasonable. "Miss Carter is confused. Remove her." One guard seized her wrist. The other reached for the painting. Evelyn twisted away, refusing to drop it. She had spent 6 months restoring the portrait. She knew every crack, every layer, and she knew the ring belonged to the Moretti family. A murmur rolled through the ballroom when the doors opened. Vincent Moretti entered without hurry, dressed in black, his silver hair neat, his face unreadable. At 57, he carried no visible weapon, yet armed men stepped aside before he reached them. His gaze went first to the ring, then to Evelyn's bruising wrist. "Let her go," he said. The guard obeyed before Adrian could answer. Adrian forced a laugh. "This is private business, Vincent." The room tightened at the first name. Vincent ignored him and studied Evelyn. She hated the calm in his eyes because it felt more dangerous than anger. "Where did you find the ring?" he asked. "Inside the frame." "And the ledger?" Her pulse stumbled. She had found no ledger, but Adrian's expression proved one existed nearby. Vincent took the painting from her with surprising care. Behind them, cameras flashed. Adrian's smile vanished. "She stole company property," he said. Evelyn faced him. "You hired me to restore stolen property." Gasps broke across the room. Adrian's hand moved toward his jacket. Vincent saw it. So did Evelyn. She stepped between them before fear could stop her, protecting the painting instead of protecting herself. The choice surprised everyone, including Vincent. He moved once, fast enough that Adrian's wrist struck the table before the gun cleared his coat. Crystal shattered. Guests screamed. Vincent's men closed the exits. Evelyn remained still, though her knees shook beneath her dress. Vincent leaned near her ear, his voice low enough for only her to hear. "You'll want me until it hurts." She turned, furious. "I don't want anything from you." Her whisper cut sharper than his. A faint change touched Vincent's face, almost approval. "Not yet." Adrian struggled against the men holding him. "She has no idea what she's carrying." Vincent looked at the silver ring again. "Neither do you." He handed Evelyn a black handkerchief and nodded toward her wrist. Only then did she notice blood running down. Police sirens rose outside, too perfectly timed to be an accident. Adrian smiled again. "They'll arrest her first." Vincent did not argue. He knew Adrian was right. The weapon had been planted near Evelyn's work table, and the auction records carried her forged signature. Someone had prepared her guilt carefully. Vincent offered his hand. "Come with me or spend tonight explaining a murder you didn't commit." Every lesson her father taught her warned against men like Vincent Moretti. Every instinct warned her that Adrian had built the trap before she entered the ballroom. Officers pounded on the doors. Vincent kept his hand extended, neither pleading nor commanding. Evelyn looked at Adrian, who mouthed, "Run." That decided it. She placed blood-stained handkerchief in Vincent's palm but kept the silver ring clenched tight. Vincent led her through a service corridor as police flooded the ballroom. Behind them, Adrian shouted that she was a thief. Ahead, rain hammered the alley, where a black car waited with its rear door open. Evelyn stopped beneath the awning. Crossing that distance meant trusting a criminal over the law. Vincent said nothing. She entered the car anyway. The ring opened, revealing her father. Rain struck the limousine's roof as Evelyn pried open the silver ring again. Inside, a faded photograph showed her father, Antonio Carter, standing beside a younger Vincent Moretti. Both men were smiling, their hands clasped over a sealed envelope marked with the same blood-red crest hidden beneath the painting's varnish. Her throat tightened. Antonio had spent his life warning her about organized crime, yet the photograph suggested familiarity, perhaps loyalty. Across from her, Vincent watched without blinking. The city blurred beyond tinted windows while sirens faded behind them. "Tell me why my father knew you," Evelyn said. "Now." Vincent. Vincent glanced toward the driver, then pressed a button that raised a privacy screen. Your father saved my life in Sicily 30 years ago. Evelyn laughed once, without humor. He was an accountant. He was many things. Vincent touched the ring, including the only man I trusted completely. Evelyn stiffened. She wanted to reject every word, but Antonio's face inside the ring looked younger than any photograph she owned. A thin scar crossed his cheek, matching one he always refused to explain. What was in the envelope? She asked. Vincent answered, Names powerful enough to bury us both alive today. The car entered an underground garage beneath a stone townhouse. Armed guards opened the doors, but Vincent did not touch Evelyn as she stepped out. That restraint unsettled her more than force would have. A gray-haired woman approached carrying a medical case. Sophia Romano, Vincent said. She treats you. I need a lawyer, not a nurse. Evelyn kept the ring hidden in her fist. Sophia noticed the blood dripping between her fingers. You need stitches before pride costs you movement in that hand. Her voice held no softness, yet she positioned herself between Evelyn and the guards. Inside, the townhouse smelled of cedar, espresso, and old paper. No gold statues, no trophies, no obvious luxury. Family photographs lined one wall, many turned face down. Evelyn followed Sophia into a library where a fire burned low. Vincent remained at the doorway, giving orders in rapid Italian through his phone quietly. Sophia cleaned Evelyn's wrist. The cut was shallow, but bruises already darkened beneath her skin. Adrian hired you 3 years ago? Sophia asked. 6 months. Long enough to learn your habits. Evelyn looked up. Long enough for him to forge my signature. Sophia's needle paused. Exactly. Vincent listened. Evelyn hated that they understood the trap better than she did. Adrian had approved every access badge, invoice, and restoration report. He knew where she worked alone. He knew her father was dead. Worse, he knew the ring would bring Vincent personally. I was bait, she whispered. Yes, Vincent. The admission struck harder than a lie. Evelyn stood too quickly, knocking aside Sophia's instruments. Then send me home. Vincent ended his call. Your apartment was searched before the auction began. He placed a tablet on the desk. Security footage showed masked men carrying boxes from her building. Evelyn paled. Her father's letters were inside those boxes. So were his watch, her mother's recipes, and the last recording of Antonio's voice. She pressed her bandaged hand against her mouth, refusing tears. Vincent looked away, granting privacy without leaving. That small mercy made her anger less certain, which frightened her more. My father called you a monster once, Evelyn said. Vincent's expression remained still. He was right. Sophia tied the final knot and withdrew. He also called you when he was dying. Evelyn stared. Vincent reached inside his jacket and removed a worn black phone. Listen. He pressed play. Antonio's voice filled the library, weak but unmistakable. Vincent, if Evelyn finds the ring, Knox has already moved. Do not tell her everything. She will run toward the truth, even when it has a gun. Evelyn closed her eyes. Her father coughed, then continued, Protect her from me too. The recording ended. Firewood cracked softly. Evelyn opened her eyes, grief sharpening into suspicion. Protect me from him? Vincent said nothing. Sophia's face tightened. Evelyn understood. Their silence was not uncertainty. It was agreement. Her father had hidden more than criminal names. He had hidden something about her. A guard entered and placed a scorched envelope on Vincent's desk. It had been recovered from Evelyn's apartment after the intruders fled. Across the front, Antonio had written one sentence in shaking ink. Do not let my daughter remember Sicily. Evelyn reached for it, but Vincent caught her wrist. No. Evelyn pulled against Vincent's grip, but he released her at once. The scorched envelope remained between them on the desk, its edges curled black, Antonio's warning visible in the firelight. Do not let my daughter remember Sicily. What does that mean? Evelyn asked. Vincent did not answer. She looked at Sophia. The older woman lowered her eyes for half a second, and that was enough. You both know. We know fragments, Sophia said. Then give me the fragments. Vincent picked up the envelope and slipped it into his jacket. Evelyn stepped in front of him. That belongs to me. It was written about you, not to you. My father wrote it, and someone burned your home looking for it. His voice stayed calm, but Evelyn could feel the command beneath it. He expected rooms to bend around him. He expected fear to do the work of chains. She refused to give him either. "You brought me here because you said I had a choice." "You did." "No, you gave me a car or a jail cell." Vincent's jaw tightened. Evelyn turned toward the library doors. 2 guards stood outside in the hall. Neither moved, but their presence made the truth clear. She was not a guest. Sophia rose from the medical table. "Your apartment is compromised. Knox has men watching the police stations, hospitals, airports, and every relative connected to your father." "I have no relatives." "That makes you easier to isolate," Sophia said. The words landed hard because they were true. Evelyn had spent years believing independence meant safety. No siblings, no husband, no children, few close friends. She had built a quiet life around work and her father's memory, never noticing how easily that life could be erased. Vincent studied her face. "Knox wants you frightened enough to run where he expects. Then I'll go somewhere he doesn't expect." "There is nowhere he doesn't expect." A bitter smile touched her mouth. "Men like you always think the world ends at the edge of your map." Vincent's eyes sharpened. "And people who have never been hunted think roads belong to them." Silence stretched between them. Then Evelyn saw the keys on the desk. They belonged to the black sedan in the garage. She did not look at them again. Instead, she swayed slightly and pressed her good hand to the chair. Sophia moved first. "Sit down." "I'm fine." "You lost blood." "Barely." Evelyn let her knees weaken. Sophia caught her shoulders. Vincent stepped closer, attention fixed on her face. Evelyn waited until Sophia reached for the medical case. Then she drove her heel into Vincent's shin, grabbed the keys, and ran. The hallway exploded with movement. "Do not touch her," Vincent shouted. That order saved her. The guards hesitated, afraid to disobey him, and Evelyn slipped between them. She raced down the stairs, clutching the railing with her bandaged hand. Pain shot through her wrist, but she kept moving. Behind her, Sophia called her name. Vincent did not. The garage door was already rising when Evelyn reached the sedan. She unlocked it, threw herself inside, and started the engine. 1 guard blocked the exit. Evelyn pressed the accelerator. He jumped aside. The car tore into the rain. For 3 blocks, she expected black vehicles to appear in the mirrors. None did. That frightened her more than pursuit. Vincent was letting her go, or he knew where she was going. Evelyn abandoned the sedan near a crowded subway entrance. She left the keys beneath the driver's seat, pulled her coat over her torn dress, and disappeared underground. The platform smelled of wet concrete, metal, and old electricity. Commuters stared at their phones, unaware that the woman beside them had blood beneath her sleeve and a mafia ring hidden in her palm. She boarded the first train heading downtown. Only when the doors closed did she breathe. Her father had once taken her to a storage facility near the river. She had been 12. He told her the unit held tax records, nothing important. Antonio never kept anything unimportant. Evelyn changed trains twice, exited through a station under repair, and walked 6 blocks through rain. The storage building stood between a closed furniture warehouse and a 24-hour laundromat. The clerk barely glanced at her. "Unit number?" 317. "Identification?" Evelyn placed the silver ring on the counter. The clerk's face changed. He reached beneath the desk. Evelyn stepped back, ready to run, but he pulled out an old brass key. "Your father said you might come." The corridor lights flickered as she approached Unit 317. The brass key turned smoothly. Inside was no tax archive. A child's red coat hung from a hook. Mud still stained the hem. Beneath it sat a small suitcase covered in faded airline stickers. Evelyn touched the coat. A memory flashed. Stone walls, salt air, a man shouting in Italian. Her own small hands covered in blood. She stumbled backward. A tape recorder clicked on by itself. Antonio's voice filled the unit. "Evelyn, if you are hearing this, Vincent failed to stop you." A second voice followed, weak and terrified. Her voice. She was 8 years old. "Papa, I saw what Mr. Moretti did." Evelyn stopped breathing. Then the tape continued, and the child whispered, "He killed my mother." The tape kept turning after the child's accusation. "He killed my mother." Evelyn stood motionless inside the storage unit, one hand pressed against the metal shelf to keep herself upright. The recorder's reels clicked softly, dragging her past into the open 1 second at a time. Antonio's voice came next, strained and low. "No, sweetheart. You did not see everything." A child sobbed. "I saw him holding the knife." "You saw him take it away from her." "Mommy was bleeding." "Yes." "Then why didn't he help her?" A long pause swallowed the room. "He tried." The recording ended with a mechanical snap. Evelyn stared at the machine. Her breathing came shallow and fast. The memory inside her head did not feel like a memory. It came in broken images. White stone walls, a blue door, salt wind, her mother's dress stained red, Vincent's hands covered in blood. She tore open the small suitcase. Inside were 3 passports, a bundle of old photographs, a woman's gold necklace, and a sealed medical file bearing the name Evelyn Carter. Her mother, Evelyn opened it. The first pages listed injuries: 2 broken ribs, a fractured wrist, repeated internal bleeding. The final report described a stab wound beneath the left shoulder. At the bottom, one line had been circled in Antonio's handwriting. Patient displayed injuries consistent with long-term physical abuse. Evelyn's fingers went cold. Her father had always told her Elena died during a robbery in Sicily. He never mentioned abuse. A sound came from the hallway. A shoe scraped concrete. Evelyn turned off the recorder and listened. Nothing. She put the medical file into the suitcase and reached for the brass key. The overhead light flickered again. This time it went out completely. Darkness covered the unit. A man's voice drifted from the corridor. "Miss Carter?" It was not Vincent. Evelyn grabbed the metal flashlight from the shelf and backed toward the wall. "Mr. Knox only wants the ring." Another voice answered from farther away. "And the tape." Evelyn looked toward the narrow vent near the ceiling. Too small. The only exit was the open unit door. Footsteps approached. She crouched behind a stack of boxes and held the flashlight like a weapon. Her wrist throbbed beneath Sophia's stitches. The first man entered with a pistol raised. Evelyn swung before he saw her. The flashlight struck his jaw. He stumbled into the shelving. Boxes crashed down between them. Evelyn ran past him, but a second man caught her coat and pulled her backward. She slipped out of it and kept moving. A gunshot cracked through the corridor. Concrete dust burst near her face. She ducked behind a rolling cart and shoved it hard. The cart slammed into the second man's knees. He fell, cursing. Evelyn ran toward the stairwell. The storage clerk lay behind the front counter, blood spreading beneath his shoulder. His eyes were open. "Back door," he whispered. She dropped beside him. "I need to call an ambulance. They cut the phones. I have a cell. They track it." His hand closed around her sleeve. "Your father paid me for 22 years. Do not waste that by dying here." A bullet shattered the glass above them. Evelyn crawled behind the counter and found a red emergency lever. She pulled it. A fire alarm screamed through the building. Sprinklers erupted overhead. Water poured through the corridors, blurring the men's sight and washing blood across the tile. Evelyn took the clerk's keys and ran through the back office. The rear door opened into an alley beside the river. Cold rain struck her bare shoulders. She carried the suitcase against her chest and ran without direction. Her dress clung to her legs. Every step sent pain through her wrist. A black SUV turned into the alley. Evelyn stopped. Vincent stepped out before the vehicle fully halted. His coat was open, rain darkening his shirt. His expression changed when he saw her without shoes, without a coat, and carrying the suitcase. Then he noticed the armed men behind her. Vincent raised his gun. 2 shots. The men dropped. Evelyn flinched but did not scream. Vincent walked toward her slowly, lowering the weapon. "Are you hurt? You killed my mother." The accusation struck him harder than the rain. "No." "I heard myself say it. You were 8. I saw you with the knife." Vincent looked at the suitcase. "Did you find the medical report?" Her silence answered him. He removed his coat and held it toward her. Evelyn did not take it. "Who hurt her?" she asked. Vincent's face hardened. "Antonio." Evelyn slapped him. The sound cut through the rain. Vincent accepted it without moving. "My father loved her." "Your father loved control." "You're lying." "I promised him I would." Evelyn stared at him. Vincent's voice grew quieter. "He made me swear that if you ever remembered Sicily, I would let you hate me instead." The storage alarm screamed behind them. Sirens approached from the next street. Vincent opened the SUV door. Evelyn remained where she was. Why would he ask that? "Because the night your mother died, she was trying to take you away from him." Evelyn looked down at the suitcase. The gold necklace had slipped through the broken zipper. She recognized the pendant from childhood. A tiny locket. She opened it. Inside was a photograph of Elena holding Evelyn as a baby. Behind the picture, folded into the metal, was a piece of paper no larger than a stamp. Evelyn pulled it free. 3 words were written in her mother's hand. Trust Vincent Moretti. She looked up. Vincent's face had gone pale. Then a laser sight appeared on Evelyn's chest, and Vincent threw himself between her and the shot. The shot cracked through the alley. Vincent's body struck Evelyn before the sound finished echoing between the brick walls. He drove her behind the SUV, one arm locked around her shoulders, the other braced against the wet pavement. Glass exploded above them. "Stay down," he said. Evelyn's ears rang. Rainwater ran into her eyes as she stared at the dark stain spreading across Vincent's shirt. "You're hit." "Not badly. That is blood." "I know what blood looks like." Another shot punched through the SUV door. Vincent pulled her closer to the rear tire. His breathing had changed. Shorter. Controlled. He pressed one hand beneath his ribs. Evelyn looked toward the rooftop across the alley. A pale flash moved behind a ventilation unit. "The sniper is on the warehouse." Vincent glanced at her. "You saw him?" "Left side. Near the broken chimney." A second SUV reversed into the alley. Sophia leaned from the passenger window with a rifle. One of Vincent's men fired toward the roof, while another opened the rear door. "Move," Sophia shouted. Vincent rose first, covering Evelyn with his body. She grabbed the suitcase and ran beside him. Bullets struck the pavement at their heels. They reached the second vehicle. Vincent pushed Evelyn inside, then stumbled. She caught his arm. For one sharp second, his full weight dropped against her. Sophia climbed into the back seat and tore open Vincent's shirt. The bullet had entered below his right shoulder and passed through. "Clean exit," Sophia said. "Unless it struck bone." Vincent looked at Evelyn. "The suitcase?" She held it tighter. "Here." "Good." Sophia pressed gauze against the wound. Vincent's face tightened, but he made no sound. The SUV sped away as more Moretti vehicles blocked the alley behind them. Evelyn watched the storage building disappear through the rain-streaked window. "The clerk is still inside." "An ambulance is coming," Sophia said. "How do you know?" "I called one before we entered the alley." Evelyn looked at Vincent. "You knew Knox would find me." "I knew he would try." "And you followed me?" "Yes." "You let me escape." Vincent's gaze remained steady. "You needed to decide whether you were running from me or from the truth." Anger rose in her chest, hot and immediate. "You could have told me about my father. I gave Antonio my word. He beat my mother." Vincent looked away. That answer hurt more than confirmation. Evelyn opened the medical file again. The paper shook in her hands. She studied dates, signatures, emergency visits. Her mother had lived with injuries for years. "You knew." "I knew the last year." "And you did nothing?" "I arranged passports. Money. A house in Marseille." Vincent's voice roughened. "Elena refused to leave without you." "She should have taken me." "She tried." The SUV fell silent except for the wipers and Sophia's quiet instructions to the driver. Evelyn touched the locket inside her palm. "Trust Vincent Moretti." "Why did she trust you?" Vincent's eyes met hers again. "Because I was supposed to get you both out that night." "But she died." "Yes." "And you survived." "Yes." The simplicity of his answers felt cruel. Yet Evelyn could see the guilt beneath them. It did not excuse anything. It did not make him innocent. It only made the past harder to divide into monsters and victims. Sophia finished wrapping his shoulder. "We cannot return to the townhouse," she said. "Knox knows the route." Vincent nodded. "Take us north." "Where?" "The monastery." Sophia stared at him. "That place has been empty for 19 years. "No, it has been waiting." Evelyn looked between them. "Waiting for what?" Vincent ignored the question. An hour later, city lights disappeared behind dense forest. The road narrowed until branches scraped the SUV. Rain turned to mist. Stone walls appeared beyond iron gates marked with the Moretti crest. The abandoned monastery stood on a hill, its windows black, its bell tower broken. Inside, the air smelled of dust, wax, and damp stone. Vincent led them through a chapel filled with covered furniture. Blood had begun soaking through his bandage again, but he refused Sophia's help. At the altar, he pressed the silver ring into a carved hollow. A hidden door opened beneath the floor. Stone steps descended into darkness. Evelyn followed with the suitcase. Below the chapel was a room lined with ledgers, photographs, and sealed evidence boxes. At the center stood a long table holding a map of New York marked with red pins. Adrian Knox's name appeared at the top. Beside it was Antonio Carter's. Evelyn stepped closer. On the wall behind the table hung a photograph taken in Sicily. Her mother stood between Vincent and Antonio. Elena was holding a newborn child, not Evelyn. The date beneath the photograph was 2 years before Evelyn's birth. "Who is the baby?" she asked. Vincent's face went still. Sophia whispered, "You were never supposed to see that." Evelyn turned toward them. Vincent reached for the photograph, but she pulled it away first. On the back, her mother had written a name, Adrian. Evelyn looked at Vincent and asked, "Is Adrian Knox my brother?" Evelyn held the photograph beneath the hanging lamp. "Is Adrian Knox my brother?" Vincent remained beside the evidence table, blood seeping through the bandage around his shoulder. Sophia closed the hidden door above them, shutting out the monastery's cold draft. "No," Vincent said. Evelyn turned the photograph over again. Elena's handwriting remained clear beneath the image of the newborn. "Adrian, you expect me to believe that? I expect you to look carefully." She studied the picture. Elena appeared younger, exhausted, and frightened. Antonio stood behind her with one hand resting on her shoulder. Vincent stood several feet away, watching the baby instead of the camera. "What am I missing?" "The child was not your mother's," Sophia said. Evelyn looked at her. Sophia approached the table and pointed to the blanket. A small crest had been stitched near the corner, a black fox surrounded by thorns. "The Knox family symbol," Sophia explained. "Adrian's mother died during childbirth. Elena worked as a nurse at the private clinic where he was born. Then why did she have his photograph?" "Because his father abandoned him," Vincent said. "Elena cared for Adrian during his first months." Evelyn lowered the picture. "My mother raised the man trying to kill me?" "For 6 months," Sophia replied, "until his grandfather took him away." A low ringing came from somewhere inside the evidence room. Vincent crossed to an old telephone mounted on the wall. He lifted the receiver without greeting the caller. Evelyn watched his expression change. "When?" he asked. A pause followed. "Keep the police away from him. I will handle it." He hung up. "The storage clerk?" Evelyn asked. Vincent nodded. He survived surgery. Relief moved through her, brief but real. "He also identified one of the attackers," Vincent continued. "A former Moretti soldier named Luca Ferraro." Sophia's face tightened. "Luca disappeared 5 years ago." "He did not disappear," Evelyn said. "Adrian hired him." Vincent looked toward the wall map. "Perhaps. Not perhaps. Adrian knew about the ring. He knew the storage unit. He knew your emergency routes." Evelyn moved closer to the map. "Someone inside your family has been feeding him information." Vincent said nothing. Evelyn studied the red pins, handwritten dates, and photographs linked by black thread. Her years restoring paintings had trained her to notice tiny inconsistencies, changes in pigment, pressure, texture, and pattern. One photograph showed Adrian leaving a hotel with Luca. Another showed Luca entering a Moretti warehouse 3 days later. The dates did not match their order on the map. She removed both pins. "What are you doing?" Sophia asked. "These were arranged to make Luca look like Adrian's employee." Evelyn placed the photographs side by side. "But this picture was taken first." Vincent leaned closer. In the earlier image, Luca carried a leather folder stamped with the Moretti crest. In the later photograph, Adrian held the same folder. "Luca did not bring Moretti information to Adrian," Evelyn said. "Someone gave it to Luca before their meeting." Sophia examined the folder. "Only 3 people used that seal." "Who?" Evelyn asked. "Vincent, me, and the family attorney." Vincent's eyes moved toward a file cabinet in the corner. "Gabriel Shaw," he said. Sophia immediately shook her head. "Gabriel served your father. He also drafted every property transfer Adrian used to conceal his laundering network." Vincent opened the cabinet, but the folder marked Shaw was empty. Evelyn looked at the lock. There were no scratches around it, yet a thin layer of dust had been disturbed near the bottom hinge. "It was not opened," she said. The back panel was removed. She knelt and pressed along the wood. One section shifted beneath her fingers. Behind it sat a narrow metal box. Sophia stared. "How did you see that?" "The varnish is newer." Vincent gave Evelyn a long look, as though seeing her profession clearly for the first time. Inside the box were bank records, property deeds, and photographs of council members accepting cash. At the bottom lay a handwritten ledger bearing Adrian's initials. Evelyn opened it carefully. Every payment was listed beside a date and coded location. One entry appeared repeatedly: St. Orla Children's Home. That orphanage closed 15 years ago, Sophia said. No, Evelyn answered, tracing the numbers. It was renamed. She recognized the address. The building now housed the restoration laboratory where she had worked for Adrian. Her stomach tightened. He did not hire me because of my father, she said. He hired me because the evidence was hidden inside my workplace. Vincent reached for his coat. You are not going anywhere, Sophia warned. Your wound is bleeding again. The laboratory will be empty before sunrise. Evelyn closed the ledger. Then I'm coming. No. I found the pattern. And Adrian expects you. He expects a frightened restorer. Let him meet the woman who found his entire network in 12 minutes. For the first time, Vincent's mouth almost formed a smile. Sophia handed Evelyn a small pistol. Evelyn stared at it. Safety is here, Sophia said. Do not point it at anything you are unwilling to destroy. A heavy knock sounded above them. 3 slow strikes. Vincent drew his weapon. No Moretti guard used that signal. The hidden door began opening from the other side. A man's polished voice drifted down the stairs. Vincent, I came to collect my client's property. Gabriel Shaw stepped into view, holding Antonio's scorched envelope. Behind him stood 6 armed men. Gabriel smiled directly at Evelyn. Your father did not hide the truth from you, Evelyn. He sold it. Gabriel Shaw descended the stone steps with Antonio's scorched envelope held between 2 fingers. 6 armed men followed him into the archive. Vincent shifted in front of Evelyn despite the blood soaking his shirt. Sophia raised her pistol. Gabriel smiled as though arriving for dinner rather than an execution tonight. Your father sold the truth, Gabriel repeated. He traded names, roots, and lives for one thing he valued more than honor. Evelyn gripped Adrian's ledger. Me? Gabriel's expression softened with false pity. No. Control over you. Vincent's voice cut across the room. Do not listen to him, Evelyn. Not tonight. Gabriel nodded toward the ledger. Ask Vincent why Antonio's payments appear beside every dead witness. Ask Sophia who signed the clinic records after Elena died. Evelyn looked at them. Neither denied it. The underground room felt smaller, crowded by secrets and gun barrels. Open the envelope, she said right now. Gabriel tossed it onto the table. Evelyn caught it with her bandaged hand and ignored the pain. Inside was a contract dated 26 years earlier. Antonio had agreed to provide financial records to Gabriel's father in exchange for protection from prosecution. At the bottom, Vincent's signature appeared as witness there. Evelyn's face went cold. You watched him bargain. Vincent did not look away. I watched him confess. Gabriel laughed. A useful distinction. Sophia moved nearer the lights. Evelyn noticed the motion. Sophia was not retreating. She was positioning herself beside the breaker box, hidden behind the archive shelves to strike. Antonio sold ledgers, Vincent said, then used the money to build false identities for women escaping violent men. Elena discovered what he had done. She threatened to expose him. Evelyn swallowed. So he killed her? No, Gabriel answered before Vincent could. Antonio ordered Vincent to kill her. He refused outright. The room seemed to tilt. Gabriel continued, enjoying every pause. Antonio stabbed Elena himself. Vincent arrived afterward and took the knife. Your father planned to blame him, but you entered the room. Evelyn heard the child's voice again. He killed my mother. Memory pressed against her skull like breaking glass. One of Gabriel's men stepped closer to take the ledger. Evelyn held it against her chest. If Antonio sold information, why are you still searching for this? Gabriel's smile thinned. She had found the weak point. Because this ledger does not record his crimes, she said. It records yours, Gabriel. She opened to the final pages and pointed at the payment codes. These numbers are not amounts. They are restoration pigments, cataloged by year and manufacturer. Adrian used my laboratory because climate records created timestamps. Every shipment, payoff, and murder order is hidden inside conservation reports bearing Gabriel Shaw's approval. Gabriel's face lost its warmth. Vincent saw the shift and smiled without humor. She solved in minutes what your accountants missed for years. One gunman raised his weapon toward Evelyn. Sophia pulled the breaker. Darkness swallowed the archive. Vincent fired once. A body struck the stone floor near the table. Evelyn dropped behind the evidence boxes. Muzzle flashes cut through the dark. She remembered the room's layout, the gap behind the west shelves, and the emergency release beside the hidden door. Crawling through broken glass, she reached the wall and pulled the iron handle. A bell thundered above them loudly. The monastery's outer gates locked automatically. Steel shutters sealed the windows. Gabriel cursed. Evelyn shouted toward the ceiling. "The archive ventilation feeds the chapel. Sophia, smoke." Sophia understood. She kicked burning papers from a brazier into the intake. Thick gray smoke poured downward, forcing Gabriel's men to cough and scatter. Vincent emerged through the haze and disarmed the nearest attacker. Sophia struck another man across the throat. Evelyn found Gabriel near the stairs, clutching the scorched contract and reaching for the silver ring. She aimed Sophia's pistol at him. Her hands shook, but the barrel remained fixed on his heart. "You will not shoot me," Gabriel said. "Your father trained fear into you too well." Evelyn thought of Elena's medical file, the red coat, and every year Antonio had shaped her memories. She lowered the gun slightly. Gabriel smiled and lunged. Evelyn fired into the stone beside his foot instead. He fell backward, stunned. Vincent's guards breached the chapel moments later and restrained the surviving gunman. Gabriel lay coughing beneath the smoke while Evelyn placed the ledger beyond his reach. Vincent approached her carefully. "You could have killed him." Evelyn met his eyes. "I needed him alive to ruin Adrian." Gabriel sat bound to a wooden chair beneath the monastery chapel, smoke still clinging to his suit. Blood ran from a cut above his eyebrow, but his expression had recovered its polished calm. Evelyn placed Adrian's ledger on the table where he could see it. "You kept him alive," Sophia said quietly. Evelyn nodded. "He knows how Adrian moves money." Vincent stood near the stone wall while one of Sophia's men changed the dressing on his shoulder. His skin had gone pale beneath the chapel lights, but his gaze remained fixed on Gabriel. Gabriel glanced at the ledger. "You believe those pages will destroy Adrian?" "They connect him to judges, police officers, and 3 murders," Evelyn said. "They connect codes to names. A skilled attorney will call them coincidence." "You are the attorney who approved them." His smile faltered. Evelyn opened the ledger to the final section. "You created the pigment system. Adrian used my restoration laboratory to hide transaction dates. You can explain the code before the federal council." "And earn myself a prison cell?" "You already earned one." Gabriel leaned back. "Then I have no reason to help." Vincent stepped forward, but Evelyn raised a hand. She did not need threats. Gabriel expected violence from Vincent. What he did not expect was patience from her. "You came here for the ledger," she said. "Not the ring, not the medical file, not even the contract." Gabriel said nothing. "That means Adrian is afraid of something recorded near the end." Evelyn turned the pages slowly. Most entries followed the same pattern: pigment name, date, property number, payment initials. Then, 6 months earlier, the pattern changed. One entry read, Carmine Lake, December 14, St. Orla, E. C. Her own initials. Evelyn looked up. "What happened on December 14th? Gabriel's eyes moved toward Vincent. That movement answered more than words. Vincent approached the table. "Tell her." Gabriel gave a soft laugh. "You still think truth makes people free?" "No," Evelyn said. "Truth gives them a choice." Gabriel studied her for a long moment. "December 14th was the day Adrian ordered your death." The chapel seemed to lose warmth. Evelyn remembered that date. She had collapsed inside the restoration laboratory after smelling solvent. Adrian personally drove her to a private clinic and stayed until she woke. "He saved me," she said. "He poisoned you," Gabriel replied. "The dose was supposed to stop your heart. Someone changed the bottle before you used it." Evelyn turned toward Sophia. The older woman's face revealed nothing, but Vincent's did. "You knew," Evelyn said. "I knew someone attempted it. And you did not tell me. You were already being watched." Evelyn laughed once, bitterly. "Everyone keeps protecting me by hiding the knife until it reaches my throat." Vincent accepted the accusation without defense. Gabriel tilted his head. "Ask him who changed the bottle." Evelyn's chest tightened. Vincent looked at Sophia. Sophia removed a small silver key from her pocket and placed it beside the ledger. "I did," she said. Evelyn stared at her. Sophia's voice remained steady. Your father contacted me 3 weeks before he died. He said Adrian had discovered the old archive and believed you could decode it. Antonio asked me to watch the laboratory. You worked for my father? I watched him. That is not the same thing. No. Sophia's eyes hardened with an old anger. Antonio wanted to protect you after spending years protecting himself. I did not forgive him. I only believed you should not pay for his sins. Gabriel shifted against the ropes. Touching. Unfortunately, Adrian expected Sophia's interference. Vincent's attention snapped back to him. Gabriel smiled. The poisoning was never meant to kill Evelyn. Evelyn felt the trap close around them again. What was it meant to do? Force Vincent to reveal who was watching her. Sophia looked toward the chapel doors. A distant engine sounded beyond the monastery walls. Then another. Vincent moved to the narrow window. Headlights appeared through the trees, forming a line along the road. Gabriel's voice softened. Adrian now knows every safe house, every guard rotation, and every council member still loyal to the Moretti name. Sophia drew her weapon. How? Gabriel looked at the silver key she had placed on the table. That key contains a transmitter. Sophia snatched it up and crushed it beneath her heel, but the damage had already been done. Outside, car doors opened. Dozens of footsteps spread across the monastery grounds. Vincent ordered his guards into position. Evelyn gathered the ledger and evidence files into the suitcase. Gabriel watched her carefully. You can still survive, he said. Give Adrian the ring and come with me. Why does he want the ring? Because it does not belong to Vincent. Evelyn stopped. Gabriel's eyes moved toward the Moretti crest engraved in the silver. That ring belonged to Elena's first husband. Vincent went still. Evelyn turned toward him. My mother was married before Antonio? Gabriel's smile returned. Not only married. The chapel windows shattered inward as gunfire struck the stone walls. Vincent pulled Evelyn behind the altar while Sophia's men returned fire. Gabriel shouted over the noise. Ask Vincent who your real father was. Evelyn looked at the ring in her hand. Inside the hidden compartment, beneath Antonio's photograph, she noticed a second layer of metal. She pressed it with her thumbnail. A tiny portrait opened. The man in the photograph was Vincent Moretti. Evelyn lifted her eyes to him and whispered, Are you my father? Are you my father? Gunfire ripped across the monastery walls before Vincent could answer. He pulled Evelyn lower behind the altar as stone fragments sprayed over them. The silver ring remained open in her palm, its hidden portrait showing Vincent decades younger, his face unmarked by age or regret. Answer me, she demanded. Vincent checked the magazine in his pistol. Not here. You have hidden enough. Another burst shattered the stained glass window above them. Colored shards fell across the chapel floor like broken jewels. Sophia fired from behind a stone pillar, while Moretti guards dragged Gabriel toward the underground stairs. Vincent caught Evelyn's shoulders. I am not your father. She searched his face. Then why is your picture inside my mother's ring? Because Elena was supposed to marry me. The words struck harder than the bullets. Before Evelyn could respond, the chapel doors blew inward. Smoke rolled through the entrance. Adrian Knox stepped over the splintered wood wearing a dark coat and body armor, surrounded by armed men. He looked at Evelyn and smiled. There you are. Vincent raised his weapon. Adrian lifted a small black device. Fire, and every file from this monastery goes to the police with Evelyn's name attached. D-U-M, D-U-M, D-U-M when, D-U-M when, D-U-M when, D-U-M when, D-U-M when, D-U-M when, D-U-M when. Evelyn stood slowly despite Vincent's hand trying to stop her. What files? The murder orders your father signed, the accounts he kept, the witnesses he sold. Adrian glanced toward the ring. Antonio built the trap. I only learned how to close it. Gabriel coughed from the stairway. He will kill us all. Adrian looked at him with contempt. You were paid to retrieve one ledger. Evelyn held the suitcase closer. You poisoned me, framed me, sent men to my home. Why? Because Antonio left you the only key that can verify the archive. The ring? The blood inside it. Vincent's expression changed. Evelyn looked down at the silver band. Adrian continued. The crest contains a sealed sample from Elena. The archive's oldest accounts were locked under a biometric protocol. Her bloodline opens them. Sophia stepped from behind the pillar. You cannot access the council vault without 3 family witnesses. That is why I brought them. 3 elderly men entered behind Adrian. Evelyn recognized them from photographs in the archive, leaders of the Bellini, Russo, and Carbone families. The council had arrived. Adrian spread his hands. No more private wars. We settle this under the old code. Vincent lowered his pistol slightly. Under Mafia law, a bloodline claim made before 3 ruling families could not be refused without surrendering territory and protection. Adrian had not come only to attack. He had come to force a public judgment. The council moved into the monastery's dining hall, where a long stone table stood beneath iron chandeliers. Armed men lined both walls. Evelyn sat between Vincent and Sophia. Adrian placed Gabriel opposite them. One council leader, Matteo Bellini, opened a leather book. State the accusation. Adrian stood. Evelyn Carter stole financial records, murdered a protected witness, and conspired with Vincent Moretti to seize assets belonging to the Knox family. Evelyn looked at Vincent. Who did I supposedly murder? Adrian placed a photograph on the table. The storage clerk. Her stomach dropped. He survived surgery, she said. He died 30 minutes ago. Sophia whispered. No. Adrian added a second photograph showing Evelyn beside the man behind the counter. The cameras caught her fleeing. They did not catch the gunman, Evelyn said. The recording was damaged. Convenient. Matteo Bellini turned to Vincent. Your response. Vincent rose. But Evelyn touched his arm. She stood instead. My response is evidence. She opened the suitcase and removed Adrian's ledger, Elena's medical file, the scorched contract, and the photographs from Sicily. Adrian watched without concern. Evelyn placed the ledger under the chandelier. These codes are not random. They correspond to conservation pigments used in the laboratory Adrian controlled. Each pigment identifies a payment date. Each restoration number identifies a recipient. She pointed to the entries one by one. Judge Harmon, Detective Vale, Council Accountant Peter Russo. The third council leader stiffened. Adrian laughed. A restorer interpreting colors is not proof. No, Evelyn said, but your voice is. She removed the tape recorder from the suitcase. Adrian's confidence slipped. Evelyn pressed play. At first, only static filled the room. Then Antonio's voice emerged, followed by a second man discussing the St. Orla laboratory. Adrian's voice. Once Evelyn decodes the final panel, kill her and leave Vincent's seal. The council members turned toward him. Adrian lunged for the recorder. Gabriel rose despite his restraints and blocked him. Adrian struck Gabriel across the face, but Sophia's guards seized him before he reached Evelyn. Matteo Bellini closed the leather book. The accusation against Evelyn Carter is dismissed. Adrian Knox will answer for murder, conspiracy, and violation of council protection. Adrian twisted in the guard's grip. You think this ends with me? Evelyn stepped closer. No. It ends with the truth you were too arrogant to erase. She placed the open ring on the table. Matteo examined the hidden portrait, then looked toward Vincent. There is still the matter of Elena's bloodline. Vincent's face hardened. Matteo opened a sealed council record and read one line in silence. Then he looked directly at Evelyn. Vincent Moretti is not your father. Antonio Carter was not either. Vincent Moretti is not your father. Antonio Carter was not either. The council record remained open beneath Matteo Bellini's hand. Evelyn stared at the page, waiting for the words to rearrange themselves into something less cruel. Then who was? She asked. Matteo turned the record toward her. A name had been written beside Elena's. Dominic Knox. Adrian stopped struggling. For the first time that night, real fear entered his face. Evelyn looked from the document to him. Your father? Our father, Matteo said. The room tightened around her. Adrian shook his head. That record is false. Gabriel laughed through his split lip. You knew before Antonio died. Adrian turned on him. Be quiet. Evelyn understood. Adrian had not hunted her only because she could decode the archive. He had hunted her because Elena's daughter carried the same bloodline that gave him his claim to the Knox empire. If Evelyn survived, Adrian was not the sole heir. Vincent stepped beside her. Dominic Knox assaulted Elena while she worked at the clinic. Antonio married her afterward and gave Evelyn his name. Evelyn's hands curled against the stone table. And my mother? She wanted the truth recorded, Sophia said. Antonio wanted it buried. He feared the Knox family would take you. So he controlled her instead. No one contradicted her. The final pieces settled into place. Antonio had protected Evelyn from one powerful family while becoming another prison inside her home. Vincent had carried the blame because Elena asked him to keep Evelyn alive. Sophia had watched from the shadows. Adrian had spent years making sure his father's second child never reached the council. Evelyn looked at Adrian. "You knew I was your sister." His mouth twisted. "You were a mistake with a useful signature." Vincent moved before anyone else. Evelyn caught his arm. "No." He looked at her. She stepped toward Adrian herself. "You poisoned me. You killed the storage clerk. You framed me for murder. You sent men into my home." Adrian's smile returned, weak and poisonous. "And you survived because Vincent kept lifting you out of danger." "No, I survived because you kept mistaking kindness for weakness." She turned to Matteo. "I make a bloodline claim against the Knox estate." The council members exchanged glances. Adrian shouted, "She has no standing." Evelyn placed Elena's locket beside the council record. "The ring contains Elena's sealed blood sample. Test it." Matteo nodded to the council physician. The old protocol took less than 10 minutes. Blood from Evelyn's injured wrist was matched against the sample preserved inside the crest in Dominic Knox's archived record. The result was read aloud. Confirmed. Under council law, Evelyn became equal heir to every protected Knox asset. Adrian's face emptied. Matteo closed the record. Because Adrian Knox used family resources to murder a blood heir, his claim is revoked. 2 guards removed the Knox pin from Adrian's coat. His businesses, accounts, and properties were frozen before he left the room. The federal evidence in Gabriel's ledger would go to prosecutors by sunrise. Adrian looked at Evelyn as the guards pulled him toward the doors. "You think they will let you walk away from this?" Evelyn met his gaze. "Watch me." Gabriel accepted a cooperation agreement in exchange for testimony. Sophia ensured the storage clerk's final statement, recorded before his death, reached both the council and federal authorities. Vincent surrendered his weapons before dawn. Evelyn found him alone in the monastery courtyard while the first pale light touched the trees. "You are leaving," she said. "I have crimes to answer for. You protected me. I also built the world that put you in danger." He handed her the silver ring. She did not take it. "What happens to the Moretti family?" "Sophia will dissolve the illegal operations. The legitimate companies will fund the families harmed by us." "And you?" "I testify. I serve whatever sentence remains after the agreement." Evelyn's chest tightened. "You decided that without asking me." Vincent gave her a tired look. "Your life cannot begin while tied to my guilt." She finally took the ring. "I do not need you to decide how my life begins." 3 years later, Evelyn stood inside the Evelyn Carter Center for Art Recovery, a museum and legal foundation built from the Knox inheritance. It restored stolen artwork and funded shelters for women escaping violent homes. Sophia served on its board. Gabriel remained in federal prison. Adrian received life without council protection and decades under federal law. Antonio's name was neither honored nor erased. Evelyn preserved the full truth. On a quiet autumn morning, Vincent walked through the museum doors after completing his reduced sentence. He wore no guards, no black convoy, and no family pin. Only a dark coat and the same unreadable eyes. Evelyn approached him beneath Elena's restored portrait. "You came," she said. "You invited me." She opened her hand. The silver ring rested in her palm, no longer a weapon, no longer a secret. Vincent looked at it, then at her. "You once told me I would want you until it hurt. I was arrogant." "You were right." His breath caught. Evelyn placed the ring in his hand and closed his fingers around it. "But wanting you is not enough. Trust must come first." Vincent nodded. "Then I will earn it." She took his other hand. Outside, the museum doors opened to morning light. For the first time, Evelyn chose love without surrendering herself. So, this is where Evelyn's journey comes to a close. Are you still here with me? If you are, maybe something in her story felt familiar. Not the mafia, not the hidden archives, but the quiet pain of being betrayed by someone you trusted, being misunderstood, carrying wounds you never asked for. Standing alone while everyone else seemed ready to decide who you were, Evelyn never begged for love. She never traded her dignity for acceptance. She walked away when she had to, even when every step hurt. That choice didn't erase the pain overnight, but it gave her something far more valuable, the chance to choose her own life, instead of living inside someone else's lies. We can't control who deceives us or what secrets people keep. We can choose what kind of person we become after the truth finally arrives. Bitterness is easy. Holding on to your character is much harder and far more powerful. And yes, trusting people again can feel about as comfortable as hugging a cactus. But the right people won't ask you to lose yourself just to keep them. If Evelyn's story stayed with you today, leave one word in the comments. Dignity. I'd love to know you're still here. And if you enjoyed this story, a simple like, sharing it with someone who might need it, and subscribing to the channel truly helps us bring more stories like this to you. Until next time, thank you for spending your time with us. Dedict logo.